Hello, one and all. Um, Hi. Hi, we're reading a book. Hi, we're reading The Disabled Times Beloved Fish, Vol.3, Chapter 104. Yippee! I have tea, and it is chamomile tea, and I didn't even have a sip of it yet. I didn't even have a sip, I just smelled it, and now I'm sleepy, so that's. That's how much a lightweight I am with anything, really. Nope, that's fine. Okay. Okay. We are streaming. We are reading. We are reading even. Even we are reading. How are you today? How are you doing today? I did a little bit of a karaoke while people were out of the house, so I was like practicing my songs for projects that you will possibly hear about in the future. So yeah, my voice is properly warmed up. Maybe a little bit too warmed up, but we'll see how we do. We'll see. We'll see. Let's see if my brain is good with reading today. I don't know. Did I read anything today? Okay. No, not really. But do you want to know what this chapter is called? This chapter is called Fishy, Back in the City. They're going back. They're going back. They're going back to the city. Alright, I'm gonna have another sip of tea, and then we will start. Alright. Chapter 104, page 277. Let's do this. When the Emperor's edict summoning Prince Jing back to the capital arrived, the children were already 6 months old. They could now eat some mushed rice in addition to drinking milk, and the peach blossom pastries they'd longed for all this time could be made into a paste and eaten too. Yay! Oh no, they're so cute already. Okay. In ancient times, though, the imperial family was usually in no hurry to wean the children off of milk and would let them drink for as long as they wanted. The wet nurse thought it would be the same at Prince Jing's home. Liu knew that in modern times baby could be weaned at 6 months, but local customs said that the milk was nutritious and it was fine to drink it for longer. Unexpectedly, though, Dabao refused to drink milk as soon as he hit 6 months and would only eat paste, so he weaned himself quickly off milk. Following Dabao's leadership, Erbao, Sanbao, and Sibao soon also refused to drink milk. They stuck out their necks and clamored for rice mush, completely ignoring the wet nurse. If the wet nurse picked them up and tried to force feed them, even the fourth young master with his lovely temper and ready laughter would get upset, turning his body around and showing the wet nurse his butt. Stop. Stupid. For the first time, the wet nurse felt alone. She was also having doubts about herself. Did the young masters not like her milk? Liu knew what was going on. The fish children weren't normal babies and had their own ideas, but Liu couldn't explain that to the wet nurse. He tried to comfort her anyway. When a family like Prince Jing's hired a wet nurse, they would have to take care of her for the rest of her life, so she didn't have to worry about the future. As there was no more need to breastfeed, Liu asked her to just look after the children, and she readily agreed. The young masters seemed very smart. Perhaps they were just different from the children of a normal family. At first, Prince Jing was a little worried about the children's health, but Liu assured him over and over again that weaning at 6 months wasn't a problem, and Prince Jing of course believed Xiao Yu. So the issue of children's weaning quickly passed just like that. As soon as the Emperor's edict arrived, Prince Jing ordered their things to be— Ow! Sorry. I can't stim like that. That hurt me. Sorry. It's nothing. Don't worry about it. Where was I? As soon as the Emperor's edict arrived, Prince Jing ordered their things to be packed. Since he'd been expecting this for a while, the official affairs of the western border were pretty much handled already, so Prince Jing handed over official duties to the village head. The bandits had been dealt with, and the western border was now peaceful. As for the imperial guards and that the emperor had sent to protect Prince Jing asked them to stay in the western border for a bit to help the village head. He'd also trained a group of young soldiers, and he handed them over to the village head as well. Official affairs were progressing smoothly with almost no issues. All that was left was to pack. Prince Jing was still unmarried before he came to the western border and brought his boyfriend, Li Gongzi, along, but now he was returning with his wife and four young masters. It wasn't just the number of people he had changed. What? It wasn't just the number of people that had changed. There were multiple times more luggage than before. The children's clothes, toys, and diapers took up several carriages alone, and they had to bring along the wet nurse and other caretakers as well. There were also several physicians that had come with them to the western border, and the children's teachers that Prince Jing had hired back in the capital, who he was responsible for bringing back. Liu had married Prince Jing in Lofeng village and had his fish children here. The residence in Lofeng village held immense significance to him, like another home. He was reluctant to part with it, and after making his rounds, he wanted to bring everything he saw. The fish tank, crystal bottle, and all the fish plushies had to be brought along. He also wanted to bring the 2 ducks they were raising in the yard. These 2 ducks were the fluffy ducklings he'd brought back from the duck farm, which had since grown into fat ducks. Liu had said that the ducks would get ugly once they were grown up, but he secretly liked them a lot. Subao, who'd watched the ducks grow up and get ugly, also liked them. Liu liked to eat roast duck, but he had never thought about roasting these ducks. Wang Ji followed Liu around and wrote down everything he wanted to bring. When he saw Liu hesitate, he smiled and said, "Consort, please rethink this. The ducks would be difficult to bring along." "I really can't," Liu said. Liu was a little reluctant. "But if they're left behind, no one will take care of them." "The servants and this manor have been hired by the village head, so there won't be anyone else living here," Wang Ji said. "There will be some servants left behind who can feed them on time and take care of them." But Liu knew what Wang Ji meant, and knew that this was normal, but if the ducks were left behind, he wouldn't get to see them again. Prince Jing was destined to become the emperor, and he knew this year they'd spend at the western border was just part of Prince Jing's journey to the throne. When they returned to the capital this time, Prince Jing would definitely show his brilliance, so he and Prince Jing would never be able to set foot on the western border again. That's sad. Wang Gonggong, we really can't take them back? Aren't we bringing the fish too? Ducks don't take up too much space and they can walk on their own, so it should be fine as long as we bring enough food, right? Hello, purge dog, bit. He's sad about the ducks. Gay. Where was I? Hey guys, where was I? Aren't we bringing the fish to? Ducks don't take a minute today and like walking on them, so it should be fine. There's not enough food, right? Liu kept thinking they should be able to find somewhere in the carriage to squeeze the ducks in. Wang Gongon thought, how could bringing fish and bringing ducks be the same? Isn't it too crazy to drive 2 ducks from the western border to the capital? Wang Ji's lips twitched. They might not survive the difficult journey. Liu kept fighting for the ducks. Prince Jing, who could see him feeling troubled from a distance away, came over and held Liu's hand while glaring at Wang Ji reproachfully. A chill went down Wang Ji's spine, and he immediately changed his tune. Yes, we can probably bring them. I'll go make arrangements to bring these 2 ducks along. Prince Jing nodded, satisfied. He didn't necessarily want to blame Wang Ji. Wang Ji's logic was sound, but he knew that this home was meant something different for Liu. When they left the capital, Xiao Yu didn't have many objections because he didn't have a proper title yet. Prince Jing's manor in the capital was more like a simple residence to Xiao Yu, but they'd gotten married and had children here, so Xiao Yu was the master of this residence. He could obviously decide what to bring and what to leave behind. Just do what the consort wants, Prince Jing signaled with his eyes. Wang Ji nodded quickly, thinking that he'd probably just been confused earlier. How could he try and persuade Li Gongzi to change his mind? Wait, is it? It is Li Yu, right? It's not Li Yu. Li Gongzi was the consort and his master. He should fully support what his master wanted to do. Okay. Please give me a chance, consort, he said respectfully. I'll definitely complete this job. Liu didn't know what Prince Jing had hinted to Wang Ji, but since Wang Ji had agreed to take the ducks with him, he was happy beyond belief. Then I'll leave it to you, Wang Gongong, he said. Wang Ji hurriedly replied, You're welcome, then rushed out to get things ready. He found a properly sized duck cage and asked the servants accompanying them if any of them knew how to take care of ducks. Since ducks couldn't stay in the carriage for too long, he had to prepare another cart and put the duck cage there. It seemed like it wasn't impossible to bring the ducks after all. They just needed to be transported correctly. After that, no matter what Liu wanted to bring, Wang Ji simply nodded and took care of it. On the day of the departure, Liu held his children and felt a little embarrassed as he stared at the line of carriages behind him. It seemed like he'd emptied out the entire manor. He just likes his stuff is all. Why are we all in a line like that? That's weird. Tea. Okay. Prince Jing smiled and squeezed his hand to tell him, It's all right. Then gave him a note. Another note? All right. Consort Yu was used to it by now. He took it to see what Prince Jing wanted to say. This time, what Prince Jing wanted to say was, Xiao Yu's dowry. Liu's face instantly turned red. Dowry my ass! The carriage Liu rode on the way here had been very spacious, but Prince Jing made the carriage even bigger this time. Originally, Wang Ji, the wet nurse, and the 4 children were supposed to be in a different carriage, but Liu insisted on keeping the children with him, unbothered by their crying. The fish children also wanted to stay near their fish father, so Prince Jing smiled and agreed. However, he didn't want Liu and the wet nurse to stay together for a long period of time in the same carriage, so he gave up his horse and got into the carriage with Liu to help look after the children with him. The wet nurse was left hung out to dry again, and she thought it was somewhat hard to believe. She quietly told Wang Ji about this, and he chuckled and said, There's nothing strange about that. That's how Prince Jing spoils the consort and the 4 young masters. You're new, so you don't know yet, but there'll be many more incidents like this. The wet nurse finally believed Wang Gongong's words. They set off with no issues, but after about half a mile, Wang Ji suddenly called for the carriage to stop and asked Liu and Prince Jing to look outside. Prince Jing opened the curtain of the carriage to see the citizens of the western border kneeling. The village head explained to Prince Jing that when the citizens heard he was returning to the capital, they wanted to come and send him off. Prince Jing got rid of the bandits, exterminated the locusts, and helped the people flourish. The way they showed their thanks was very simple. They put all the good things they had, foods or objects, in bamboo baskets to offer to Prince Jing and his consort. The old woman that Prince Jing saved was there in the crowd holding her grandson, kowtowing non-stop. And the baby Liu had ordered the guards to retrieve from the bandits was also there. The baby's parents had later been found by the guards, and now they'd brought the baby over to see them. Liu's eyes were a little teary. He didn't know what he should say. Without saying a word, he waved to them, just like he had on his wedding day. The people all loudly shouted, We wish the prince and his consort peace and safety. The citizens were overly enthusiastic and gave them gifts like chickens, ducks, pigs, and sheep. They couldn't take all of it with them, so Prince Jing asked Liu to take care of it. After giving it some thought, Liu ordered Wang Ji to keep 2 red eggs and a roast duck as a souvenir. He knew the citizens didn't have it easy, so he persuaded them to take everything else back. The citizens sent them off again, and it was 2 hours before Prince Jing and Liu had actually managed to leave Lofeng village. This is making me kind of sad. It's very bittersweet. They love them. It's really sweet. Liu watched the people turn into small black dots in the distance. He thought to himself that if he had the opportunity in the future, he was going to do some more for these lovely people. Prince Jing and the group had been in no hurry when they left the capital, and they were the same going back. They slowed down even more since the children were with them now, and Liu even developed a mood for seeing the sights. Just like on the way there, every time they passed a town, Prince Jing would change up their diet and take Liu to try local foods. When they were wandering around an unfamiliar town, he would grab Liu's hand tightly, as if he was afraid Liu would suddenly fly away. Liu felt both moved and amused when he thought about the man who would take care of the children with him, and always protect him, despite believing Liu was a carp spirit. Who said men never continue to cherish their partner after marriage? Prince Jing, at least, treated him better and better. The moment they arrived at the capital, the fish scamming system finally showed its presence with a new mission. It had been so long that Liu had almost forgotten it existed. Please note, the main quest line, Share the Country with the Tyrant, has begun. User, please review it promptly to obtain the mission information. Liu was excited when the mission finally appeared, but he calmed down quickly. Share the country? Did that mean what he thought it did? The fish scamming system's previous missions were mainly about nurturing their relationship, but this last one was a bit too difficult. Prince Jing could only think of the country after he ascended to the throne, which also meant that completing this mission would have to wait until the fight for the throne was decided in Prince Jing's favor. He'd been able to complete all the weird quests he'd gotten before, so it would be the same this time, right? Share the country with a tyrant. That was different from simple lovey-dovey behavior. No typical emperor or empress would say such a thing. Liu glanced at the man holding his hand, and he wondered if this man really loved him enough to share the country with him. The country was different from everything else. It was something that would give up family. It was something that many would give up family or love for. But Liu had promised to trust Prince Jing. He'd try to trust that they could finish this last mission with no issue. When they arrived in the capital, they had to enter the palace immediately to greet the emperor, even though they were all extremely tired. Prince Jing took Liu with him, and they each held 2 children. Wang Ji quickly ran to Changqing Palace to deliver the message, and, after receiving the emperor's orders, Luo Rusheng waited for them outside the palace. As soon as he saw Prince Jing's family from a distance, he immediately rushed forward to greet them. Luo Rusheng had never seen Liu before, so he bowed to him politely. When he saw Erbao and Sanbao in Liu's arms, as well as Dabao and Sibao in Prince Jing's arms, he couldn't help but smile. They really looked alike, especially the little heir. He looked like he was made from the same mold as Prince Jing when he was a baby. Head eunuch Luo wanted to say a few more things, but the emperor couldn't wait anymore and walked out himself, calling out loudly, "Where's Prince Jing?" But before he'd even finished speaking, the emperor stopped in his tracks. Prince Jing was standing a few feet away, with a delicate and pretty young man cuddled up next to him, and they were both holding 2 children in their arms. When Prince Jing saw the emperor, he pulled Liu down to kneel in greeting. The emperor ordered head eunuch Luo to help them up and stared at Prince Jing for a while, before saying emotionally, "You've gotten more tanned, and you've bulked up." The emperor then turned to look at Liu next to Prince Jing. This young man's luminous eyes and rosy lips were very pleasing to skipped a bit, were very pleasing to the eye, he thought. He had already guessed who the young man was, and he smiled and asked, "You're Liu?" Prince Jing gently squeezed Liu's hand under his sleeves. Liu understood. He and the emperor weren't truly strangers, so he boldly called out, "Royal father." This guy? The emperor was delighted, as if he gained another son. When he looked at the two in front of him, he felt they matched each other well in both appearance and temperament, making them a very suitable couple. He nodded, kindly. Prince Jing was holding Dabao and Sibao. Liu had already told the babies on the way there, so Dabao knew that the man wearing strange bright yellow clothes was his grandpa. But Dabao still didn't know how to talk, and he usually just drooled when he opened his mouth. Dabao was afraid of embarrassing himself, so he didn't open his mouth and instead copied the adults by putting his fists together and stretching them out to his grandpa. So fucking cute. Stop. I can't again. The emperor's gaze landed on Dabao immediately, and he paused. After a while, he smiled and said, "Tianqi, this child looks just like you when you were a child. A little Chubs." Prince Jing, who had been looking for little Chubs for a long time, was stunned. What? Was stunned to hear this. Oh, okay. Yeah, he was. Yep. Yep. Neither Wang Ji, Ye Qinghuan, nor anyone else would ever dare call Prince Jing little Chubs. Only the emperor was so fearless. Prince Jing suddenly realized, was the little Chubs Liu was talking about that one time actually himself? What do you know? This guy does have a brain cell or two. God, they're perfect for each other. They're just so stupid. I love them. That's the end of that chapter. Mm-hmm. 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 That's the end of that chapter. The next chapter is called Fish Children Meeting the Emperor. Chapter 105. I love them. I love them so much. I can't stand it. Alright. The Emperor was right in front of them, so Prince Jing couldn't ask Liu straight away. He decided to put it aside for now. The Emperor was overjoyed when he saw Dabao, just as Liu expected. He glanced at Prince Jing and then stepped forward with Erbao and Sanbao as well. When the Emperor saw the other two chubby children, he was ecstatic. Erbao and Sanbao weren't as concerned with their image as Dabao was, so when they saw their grandpa, they opened their mouths to shout, but ended up just drooling a lot. Erbao pointed to the dragon on the emperor's clothes, then smiled and clapped his hands. He had seen this before. "Ah, snake!" The sound was clear and crisp, very healthy. Just the "ah," by the way. He just screamed because he's a baby. Because he's a baby. Because he's a baby and he doesn't know how to say words. Okay. The emperor patted the chubby little boy's head in surprise. Sanbao, not about to be outdone, yelled back even louder, "Ah! A centipede!" The emperor patted the other chubby little boy's head too, amused. Dabao was sulking on his own. Erbao and Sanbao were dummies. That was a dragon. Fishfather had told him before that the long thing on Grandpa's clothes was a dragon. "Stop talking. Listen to me." But as soon as Dabao opened his mouth, drool flowed out. Dabao decided being embarrassed was fine, so he strained until his face was red to force out a "Pa?" Dabao wanted to cover his face after he heard his own voice. What was going on? He was the first one to say "Daddy," clearly, so why was he saying "Grandpa" all weird? Being human is too hard. I want to be fish again. The emperor heard him, and he teased Dabao by asking, "Dabao, what are you trying to say?" Dabao did his best and clenched his little fist. "Grandpa." The emperor thought he must have heard incorrectly. Liu smiled and confirmed, "Royal father, he's calling for you. Please forgive me. At home, no, on the western border, we always call you Grandpa in front of him." The emperor had never had a grandson who'd called him Grandpa before. They all called him the proper royal grandfather. But when Prince Jing's little heir suddenly called him Grandpa, even though he stuttered and didn't pronounce it quite right, the emperor was so happy that his beard almost stood on end. This baby could call him Grandpa, even though he was only 10 months old. He would definitely be a smart child in the future. Anyway, he was his grandson. It was normal for him to call him Grandpa. Wasn't that what ordinary families did? The position of emperor was a very high one to be in, but he also wanted to experience the simple joys of a family. He's a simple guy. The imperial family had a saying, "Embrace your grandson, but not your son." The emperor had been talking about Prince Jing for months now, and Prince Jing was finally back, but the emperor could only say a few things to him. He couldn't be overly affectionate, but the little grandson was different. Since he was from a latter generation, the emperor could embrace him however he wanted. The emperor, who forgot his son now that his grandson was here, lifted Dabao up. Luo Risheng and Prince Jing quickly helped the emperor. Dabao was well taken care of, and he was a little heavy. The emperor used quite a bit of strength and held Dabao firmly. After catching his breath, he turned around and smiled at Prince Jing, saying, "Little Chubbs is quite heavy." Prince Jing felt a bit bewildered. The emperor held Dabao in his embrace, and Dabao was obedient and didn't cry. His little chubby arms went around the emperor's neck, and the grandpa-grandson pair seemed very close. Liu was afraid the emperor would get tired, so he wanted to take Dabao back, but the emperor waved him away. Dabao was a little heavy, but the emperor enjoyed the fact that Dabao wasn't afraid of him. After all, when his other grandsons saw him, they were like mice that had seen a cat. They weren't as close to him as the grandsons from Prince Jing's family. Not only did the emperor not allow anyone to take Dabao away, but he also waved Liu over. Liu understood. He walked over with Erbao and Sanbao. The emperor made Luo Risheng bring each child over to sit on his lap. "Royal father, this is too heavy," Liu protested, a bit embarrassed. The emperor's childishness started showing, and he shushed Liu. "Let them sit here for a bit. Since I'm holding Dabao, the others will be upset if I don't hold them too." Liu was speechless. He didn't notice the other children getting unhappy. Was the emperor trying to start something? The emperor counted the little butts on his lap and found he was missing one. He counted the little butts on his lap. So stupid. What about Subao? Subao was sleeping soundly in Prince Jing's arms. He was tired from all the traveling, and the fish children had a very good habit of not waking up once they were asleep. This meeting with the emperor didn't even bother him. Prince Jing put Subao in the emperor's arms too, after the emperor kept urging him to. Subao, who was sleeping very well, was welcomed by his brothers. Erbao and Sanbao started waving their little arms and legs in a dance, patting Subao awake. Subao sat up, rubbed his eyes, and saw the emperor holding him. "Who is this?" Subao ate his hands and tried to recall. His fish dad told him they were going to see Grandpa, but Subao got sleepy and took a nap. So this was Grandpa? "Ah! Grandpa!" In his excitement, Subao accidentally spit out his drool and nearly choked on his saliva. The emperor almost gave himself an internal injury holding back his laughter. As soon as Subao opened his eyes, the emperor could tell that he looked a lot like Liu. If he had any doubts that Liu had really given birth to the children before, It was gone the moment he saw them. Children resembled Children resembled their parents. This was an unchanging truth. The Emperor had a bunch of stuff he wanted to tell Prince Jing, but he forgot it all as soon as the children landed on his lap. He became completely engrossed in playing with them. Lord Risheng had to remind him quietly several times before he remembered that Prince Jing's family had come to see him first thing when they arrived in the capital. Upon closer inspection, Prince Jing and Liu did both look exhausted. The Emperor comforted them a bit, then told them to go get some rest and leave the children with him. But then he looked around and realized that there was no place suitable in the palace for children that small. The children had been forced to travel with the adults, so they must be even more tired. The Emperor knew that he couldn't keep them for any longer. He smiled and said, "Rest for 3 days. Come to the palace afterward and burn some incense for your royal mother so she can see the children. I think she would be very happy." As the Emperor spoke, he looked up at Prince Jing's family and felt a little choked up. If Empress Xiaohui were still here, and the eldest and fourth prince were still alive, with Prince Jing, the eldest and fourth prince would have had children by now too. How lovely that would have been. The Emperor's smile faded a bit. "Go on, then." Prince Jing nodded and led Liu and the children away. When they left the palace, Prince Jing patted Liu's hand. The Emperor's expression hadn't looked so great at the end, so he was afraid Liu would misunderstand. "I know," Liu said softly. "I won't take it the wrong way." The Emperor had clearly made himself sad by mentioning Empress Xiaohui. A warm, dry hand held Prince Jing's hand in return. "Tianqi, don't be sad." Prince Jing stared at Liu, and his heart felt like a warm current was flowing through it. Xiao Yu often told him not to be sad. Truth be told, Prince Jing was used to it by now, so he wasn't sad. But every time Liu tried to comfort him and care for him, Prince Jing felt immensely happy. Looking down, he saw that all the children were sleepy. Sabel rolled over, drooling on Prince Jing. It was late when they got back to the manor. Wang Ji had already ordered the servants to clean up the rooms and make the beds. The room was just as it had been when they left, except for the addition of Prince Jing's new painting of a school of carp. It signified that the master had returned. Prince Jing had just settled the children and the ducks when he turned around and saw Liu fall asleep on the bed. Sorry, my face is facing. My face is doing face things. Nose? Nose, are we okay? We're besties, right? We're good. We're good. He had buried his head in the green quilt with golden eggs and started breathing steadily. What the hell is wrong with me? He had buried his head in the green quilt with golden edges and started breathing steadily. He was so exhausted that he hadn't even taken off the shoes on his feet. Nasty. Prince Jing felt for him, so after a moment of thought, he exited the room quietly and brought back a warm basin of water into the room. Oh, God. He gently removed Liu's shoes and socks, then soaked Liu's feet in the water. During the trip from the western border, there hadn't been much time to relax other than the occasional stay at the inn. Xiao Yu must be tired, so it must have been very difficult for a carp spirit to follow him around all this time. Prince Jing wiped down the tops of Liu's feet and gently rubbed the soles. Liu hummed in comfort, but he didn't wake up. Prince Jing, wiping his feet clean, took off his robes and placed him under the brocade quilt. Then he took off his own clothes and snuggled in as well. Liu hadn't slept on a solid bed for a long time, and he didn't know how long he ended up sleeping for. He could now transform into a human for a whole day, For convenience, he usually transformed in the middle of the night. He could maintain human form until the midnight of the next day, then transformed into a fish for a second before turning human again. It was a bit troublesome, but he was usually with Prince Jing in the middle of the night. With Prince Jing shielding him, there was nothing that could go wrong, and no need to worry about his secret being revealed during the daytime. When Liu woke up, he automatically felt his body to check. He had arms and legs, so he hadn't turned into a fish. A full day hadn't passed yet. Prince Jing was laying next to him, eyes closed and unmoving as if asleep. Liu turned around and kicked off the quilt. His feet had been in unbearable pain when he fell asleep, but they didn't hurt anymore. Not only was the pain gone, but he felt like he could go to the palace and back several times over. Was sleep a cure for foot pain? Come on, guy. I think sleep is a cure for a lot of things. Leo looked at his feet and noticed that his shoes and socks had been removed. Then, when he glanced at the copper basin on the ground, he realized that the reason why his feet weren't in pain anymore wasn't because of sleeping, but because someone had massaged and soaked them. Get you a man! Seriously, oh my god. Who else would do something so extreme besides Prince Jing? Liu laid back down, his face against the other person's sturdy back, smelling his familiar scent. He asked hesitantly, Tianqi? He had only called out once when Prince Jing turned around and stared at him, with eyes as deep as a dark pool. Liu clutched his chest. That scared me. You haven't slept yet? Prince Jing nodded. Why wasn't he asleep? Because of his fish, of course. It had to do with little chubs. Prince Jing had heard Zen Master Lao Kong mention that Liu had saved him from drowning when he was a child. Prince Jing couldn't actually remember much because of the high fever he developed afterwards, but he believed it. Xiao Yu had come because of him. Though Xiao Yu had never mentioned or admitted it, he more or less had enough evidence now. After Liu let little Chub slip out when he was dreaming, Prince Jing had hunted for that person for a long time, but he never found the culprit. He even got jealous of this mysterious fat man, but now that he'd learned from the Emperor that he was called Little Chubs when he was younger, he came to a realization. No wonder he could never find Little Chubs. He was Little Chubs. The Emperor, Wang Ji, and Ye Qinghuan, knowing the nickname, was only to be expected, but how could Xiao Yu be aware of it? It must be because he'd seen him when he was younger. Xiao Yu had saved him. Prince Jing was extremely happy to learn that his love rival was actually himself. If he'd had a tail, His Highness would probably have started waving it. But Xiao Yu didn't know that he had been looking for little Chubs this entire time, so Prince Jing couldn't properly express the happiness in his heart. Oh my god. Ugh. Shut up. Everyone shut up. I'm not picking out my skin. Don't worry about it. I'm really not. I'm not picking out my skin. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm not picking... Listen, I accidentally cut up my thumb, like, a lot, but, like, only very, very surface level. It's not... Like, the way I did it accidentally was because I didn't realize I was doing that. Anyway. Now I just have scrapes on my thumb. It's annoying. But it's fine. We're finishing this chapter. We have, like, 2 paragraphs left. Okay. Oh, he's so stupid. Xiao Yu had made him promise in the past not to ask where he came from. Prince Jing was sure he had some sort of reason to refuse to admit that he had saved him in the past. All right, he decided. He wouldn't let Xiao Yu know that little Chubs knew everything. Tianqi, Liu called out in a soft voice, his eyes bright and gleaming. Prince Jing turned around and kissed him, interlocking their fingers. Liu was walking a bit stiffly the next day. It was different from the foot pain he'd had. It was his legs that were sore this time. That's how that chapter ends. That's just okay. Sure. Yeah. Why not? Of course. What did I expect? I should have expected that this whole time. Obviously. Obviously. It's only 6:44. Maybe I can get another chapter in before I have to go feed the dogs. Let's see, this chapter is like normal size. Maybe I'll just feed them early. Yeah, I think I'll just feed them early. I have a little break here. Alright, I will be BRB. I'll be back in a second to read the next chapter. Okay, starting now. Burb. Hello, I am back. Hi, back. I'm dead. JK, because Dad's not coming back. Hi, I'm back. Stretch time? I know I just like walked around, but I think I need to stretch for a second before we start. Hello? Before we start the next chapter. Do it with me, guys. Reach for the sky. Oh my god. Why you make me so sleepy? Book. I love this book. I love this book and I love chamomile tea. I'm not gonna lie, when I went to make this, I smelled it and I was like, ugh, I don't want to drink that. But then I'm drinking it and it's nice. It's quite nice. It's like the only flower that I actually like the taste of, I think. Because chamomile is just a flower. I don't like jasmine. I don't like rose. I hate rose. I don't really like lavender. Lavender is too much of a scent thing. It's not for eating. Is jasmine a flower? Oh, WB. Lavender is too overrated. I agree. As somewhat of a lesbian, I do agree. I think lavender. Listen, lavender has its moments, but I don't think we need that for everything. I don't think you need to put it in everything. Jasmine is a name, I think. No shit. This guy. Jasmine is a flower, isn't it? Like jasmine tea. Is jasmine a flower or herb? That's a flowering plant, okay. I don't think you use the flowers though. I don't know. Anyway, let's get back to it. We're reading. Oh my god, fucking hell. Let's get through this. I'm so tired. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Because you know why? Because this next chapter is called Fishy Bath. As if we haven't already had one of those. I feel like there's always a bath scene in like any danmei. Any of them. Okay, I need to take off my sweater though because I put it on to go out there. Because it's colder out there than in this room. But in this room it's a little warm. Because of my body heat. Because I am so hot. I'm so hot and sexy. Okay, why am I lagging? Hello, why am I lagging? Twitch is homophobic to me. Okay. Let's read this. Fishy Bath. Fishy Bath. Chapter 106. Page 295. I could do this. Yeah. Hang on. After I yawn. The day after Prince Jing and Liu returned home, Ye Qinghuan heard they were back and came to personally announce good news to them. The Princess of Jindra had given birth to a daughter 2 months ago. Ah! And Ye Qinghuan was beside himself with joy. While Prince Jing and the group were on the road, they hadn't really been able to receive any news, so this was the first they'd heard of it. Ye Qinghuan now had a daughter, and he was like a little honeybee buzzing over her nonstop. She's so tiny and her face isn't even as large as my palm, but she's so cute. I've never seen such a cute little girl. Prince Jing thought he was noisy, but it was Ye Qinghuan's first time being a father, and to a precious daughter at that. He had to yell about it, even if he got kicked out. Wasn't it coffins? Wasn't it a coffin scene in every Dame? There is a coffin scene in, like, so far. There's not a coffin scene in this one, and there's not a coffin scene in fucking the other one I'm reading, Remnants of Filth, yet. I haven't gotten there yet. I'm pretty sure there's gonna be a coffin scene in Remnants of Filth, but we'll see, I guess. Definitely in every MXDX books there is. Yes. But I think I've read a bath scene in every... Does Scum Villain not have a bath scene? I don't think it does. Scum Villain doesn't have a bath scene, but it has a pond scene. Does that count? Okay, we're never mind. We're reading the fish book, Fishy Bath. All right. Does Heaven and Fish's Blessing not have a bath scene? It definitely does. Oh yeah, it totally does. No, it definitely does. It does. It does. I think it does. I believe that it does. Okay. Prince Jing wasn't much better in that aspect, though. He had incubated the fish eggs himself, and the day the fish children hatched, he'd been smiling all day. He wasn't any calmer than Ye Shizi. Liu, who had known the truth, laughed out loud. A contest between Prince Jing and Ye Shizi over who was the more doting father would be an uncontested draw. But a daughter. Liu had only interacted with his fish sons, so when he thought about a cute, well-behaved little girl, like a flower, he quite wanted one himself. Liu, don't fucking get your hopes up. That's not... If anything, girls are worse. Girls are more rowdy. He couldn't help but touch his flat tummy. He wants another baby! It's been a year since he gave birth to the fish children. Since he had been a fish when it happened, it practically had no effect on his body. After that, he and Prince Jing had done it many times. Though the one-and-done buff was gone, the system said that he could conceive normally, which meant he could still have children. But he'd been on the receiving end for a year now and still hadn't received anything, so weren't the chances a bit too low? Wow. He's just fully embraced it now. I love that for him. Good job, Liu. After seeing how cute the fish children were, Liu was willing to try a second time, even if it was a little difficult. Prince Jing had worked really hard last night. They'd been on the road for so long with almost no sex life to speak of, so he'd saved up a lot of energy. Would Liu get pregnant from that? But he was a fish with a system. If he was pregnant, the system would definitely give him a notification. Like the last time when he'd had to choose between human form or fish form, it should happen every time he got pregnant. But he didn't hear a notification last night. It looked like the revolution was not... Revolution. Yeah, revolution. Oh my god. Oh my god. It looked like the revolution was not yet achieved, and Comrade Tianqi needed to work harder. Liu looked at his husband's waist with a smoldering gaze. The fuck is wrong with this guy? Oh, I hate him. He's so real for that. Ye Qinghuan was still yapping, but Prince Jing couldn't take it anymore. He ordered Wang Ji to carry him out with 2 thick red envelopes. Ye Qinghuan held the red envelopes and suddenly realized, Tianqi, are you perhaps jealous that I have such a cute daughter? Prince Jing stared at him. I'm not jealous. Get out. When Ye Qinghuan and the princesses princess's daughter returned to When Ye Qinghuan and the princess's daughter turned 1 month old, the emperor gave her the title of Qinghe Junju. Junju. I don't know what that is, but we might find out. The emperor was quite generous with the younger generation. The little prince was still too young to visit him, so Liu went over to visit Ye Qinghuan and chatted with him for a bit, before agreeing to bring the fish children to the little Qinghe Junju's 100-day-old celebration. Don't forget to bring Xiao Yu and his little fish, too, Ye Qinghuan reminded him. The princess is always talking about your family's fish. I guess I'll have to clone myself somehow, Liu thought. Liu quickly looked at Prince Jing, trying to ask for help. He would need to bring his fish children and a bunch of fish plushies, and turn into a real fish that day. It was definitely too much for him, so it would be best if Prince Jing could give him a bit of a hand. Prince Jing lightly coughed and turned his face away, as if he didn't see. Who asked this carp to be so eager to see the little princess? What? Liu looked sad. Everything had been fine just now, so why did Prince Jing suddenly get all upset? Ye Qinghuan had just left when Lo Gonggong arrived with a plethora of rewards in tow. The emperor couldn't give Prince Jing a sizable reward, but he liked the 4 children a lot, so he gave the rewards to the children instead. The list of rewards was so long that Lo Gonggong's throat nearly started smoking. Wang Ji thoughtfully gave him a cup of tea, and Lo Gonggong took a sip before happily continuing to read. Much like me. Liu stood next to Prince Jing, respectfully listening and silently speechless. Jewelry, fabric, antiques, calligraphy, those weren't special. But there were also bows, arrows, horses, and the 4 books and 5 classics. The 4 books and 5 classics? I don't know what that is. The emperor had a clear plan for the next decade of the children's lives. Most of the rewards were given in 4s, but the last one was different. The emperor gave Dabao a set of 4 treasures of the study. Footnote, the 4 treasures of the study: brush, ink, paper, inkstone. Okay. And a jade ruyi. But the other children each received 2 bags of golden ingots with the words peace and auspiciousness etched onto them. The emperor was clearly giving Dabao special treatment. Prince Jing smiled and looked at Wang Ji, who immediately explained to Liu. Consort, the eldest young master is the heir, so his reward is a little bigger. Liu nodded. He knew that the eldest son in ancient times held a special position, but the children wouldn't start fighting because of this, right? He recalled that back when the boys had been fish, when he'd put Sibao on his head and the other children when he put Sibao on his head, the other children would get jealous. Liu normally tried to pay attention to this. For example, Dabao was smarter than most babies and attracted more attention, but Prince Jing liked to hold Sibao a little more. When Liu realized that, he made sure to hold Erbao and Sanbao more often so they wouldn't feel left out. But if the gifts were different, how was he going to make the children understand why Dabao was different? If Prince Jing stayed a prince, then Dabao would inherit the title of prince. If Prince Jing ascended the throne in the future, then Dabao would most likely become the crown prince. One little difference could change everything. This was probably the most difficult thing for normal princes to accept. Since Liu had given birth to the fish children, Di or Shu wasn't a consideration, only their age. But truthfully, age was a bit confusing too, because Liu had laid the eggs in his sleep and didn't know which baby's eggs came out first. Prince Jing had determined their ages when they hatched, but if they went by the order their eggs were laid in, Dabao might not be the actual eldest son. Would the other children be unhappy because of that? Liu carefully observed them for 2 days. The fish children ate and slept as normal. There was no unhappiness to speak of, except on the day the gifts were given. Daba was almost covered in drool from the kisses the other children gave him. Huh? Why are they kissing him? Leo concluded that the fish children were still too young to worry about it. Even if they were different from normal children and had spent some time as young fish, they still couldn't understand complex things like rights and status. It was better to leave such things for later and let them live a happy childhood. Their father, Prince Jing, hadn't ascended the throne yet, so there wasn't any need to worry about all that for now. Just as he was deciding to let this go, something else unexpected happened. All at once, the fish children started throwing tantrums. Liu remembered the last time they were this upset was because they were getting weaned from milk, so he was confused. The conditions in the capital were better, so shouldn't the fish children be happier? Liu himself was definitely happier. When they got back, he overheard Wang Gongong saying that Prince Jing had brought a Chuanju roast duck master from the western border to open another location in the capital. Wasn't that just to make him happy? Liu was very self-aware. He was waiting for Prince Jing to take him out. To take him to eat roast duck. Why did he suddenly start to think about food? Liu quickly wiped away the drool from his face. He was trying to care for his fish children. That was just his train of thought. I hate him so much. That was all just his train of thought. The fish children had just moved back into the manor and were doing fine. They started throwing tantrums the day after Prince Jing and Liu held them in their arms and showed them around the manor. The manor was their new home. Was there something wrong with walking through your own home? After Liu gave it a lot of thought, he realized that Subao was facing the window yelling, "Ah!" as if he wanted to see something. Liu carried Subao over. Outside the window was a corner of the huge fish pond that Prince Jing had built for him, the clear water rippling. "Ah! I want to swim!" Subao raised his chubby hand, pointed at the pond, and looked back at his fish father with tears in his eyes. Now that Subao had expressed his desires, the other fish children started pointing to the pond as well, calling out to their fish father. Dabao, who was the most mature, yelled the loudest. So that's what it was. Liu finally understood why the fish children weren't happy. The children could only look at the huge pond in the manor. They couldn't swim in it. No wonder they were upset. Prince Jing wasn't in the manor because he had some business to attend to, but Liu had an idea. He had Wang Ji bring a large bathtub filled with warm water. He undressed the children, put a towel around each of them, hung a small piece of wood around their bodies, and let them swim in the water while they held the wood. When the 4 children got in the water and found they couldn't swim like they used to, they realized they had no tail on their butt to swim around anymore. They were incredibly sad and all started crying and wailing at once. Don't cry. I know it's so sad, but you'll get the hang of it, I promise. Oh my god. Liu hadn't expected them to cry when they were in the water too, so he got in the water and stayed with them. Crowding around Liu like they were young fish, the fish children felt a little better. Liu stayed in the bathtub for a while. Something suddenly occurred to him. How could he forget the bubbles? He took a dry piece of cloth to hastily cover himself up. He had cleared out all the servants in the room, so it was only him and his fish children. Kind of streaking, but not really, shouldn't be a problem, right? With his modesty thus preserved, Liu ran out of the bathtub and grabbed a bunch of bath beans, which were the ancient version of soap. He ground up a bath bean and dissolved it in a bamboo container, then twisted some wire to make a good-sized loop. Now that he was ready, Liu ran back to the babies, dipped the wire in the soapy water of the bamboo tube, puffed up his cheeks, and blew in the direction of the tub. His efforts were rewarded. He actually blew an iridescent bubble. Wow! Fish Dad was blowing bubbles! The fish children in the bathtub immediately forgot about the no-tail problem and swarmed around chasing the bubbles. Prince Jing had gone out to do business, but when he came back he found that the door to Xiaoyu's room was closed and the servants had gone elsewhere. Prince Jing opened the door to take a peek, curious, and saw the carp spirit wrapped in a cloth, running back and forth, his long, slender legs dazzling. So Liu was taking a bath with his fish children. Prince Jing remembered the time he'd played with Xiaoyu in the bathtub before. How could he miss out now? He immediately got into the bathtub with a smile. After 3 days of carefree respite in the manor, the day they'd been ordered to return to the palace came. Head eunuch Lo sent someone to Prince Jing's manor early in the morning to remind him. Liu put the fish children in little bright red robes and tied bibs around their necks. Each bib's color was the original color of the corresponding fish child, and there was a circle of swimming fish around the edges. That's so cute! He and Prince Jing changed into clothes appropriate for a prince and his consort. When they met the emperor the first time, they had just gotten back, so they didn't place too much importance on their attire. This meeting, however, was much more formal. The dragon on Prince Jing's clothing and the phoenix on Liu's were indispensable, but there were also fish embroidered onto inconspicuous places like his cuffs and collar, and the patterns were complementary. Now, after the wedding, Liu felt that Prince Jing's expressions of affection, both openly and secretly, had improved. Though the main goal of the trip this time was to greet Empress Xiaohui in Changchun Palace, they still had to meet the emperor first. However, before they set foot into Changchun Palace, head eunuch Lo came out to tell them that the emperor was currently meeting someone else inside. Head eunuch Lo stuck out his thumb and pinky, making a 6 gesture, and sighed. Stuck out his thumb and pinky? Is that a 6? Okay. Well, I guess that is. The emperor didn't expect this either. He usually enters the palace around noon, but he came early in the morning this time and even brought his consort. It seems like he's waiting for your highness. Okay, bitch. Okay. I hate this guy. Liu gently clasped his hands together and in gratitude to head eunuch Lo for warning Prince Jing. Lord Risheng often spoke in favor of Prince Jing, but it was inconvenient for a prince to express his thanks, so Liu thanked him in his place. As the famous saying went, a husband and husband are one. Lord Risheng hurriedly said there was no need, and Liu quickly finished his bow. Prince Jing smiled and rubbed the top of his head. Who cared about that sixth prince anyway? Liu and Prince Jing still carried their children into the palace. Mu Tianqiao was talking to the emperor, his voice full of joy. When I heard such great news, I came to tell you immediately, royal father, Mu Tianqiao said with a smile. Liu had only heard the tail end of it, so he had no idea what the great news was, but even though the emperor had heard all of it, his reaction was much less enthusiastic than the sixth prince had expected. He just furrowed his brows and stared inquiringly at the sixth prince's consort beside him. The consort nodded, embarrassed, and the emperor quickly ordered head eunuch Lo to bring a chair for her to sit down and rest. But there was no chair for the sixth prince. Mu Tianqiao was the only one left standing, and it looked a bit awkward. Did he... He didn't. But of course he did. He's having a baby, of course he is. Of course he is. How original, my guy. Oh my god. This guy is so fucking... I hate him. Where was I? Royal father, Liu called from behind. Dabao knew his grandpa now, and even though they were still far away, he opened his arms and laughed, drool falling from his mouth. Grandpa! The emperor acknowledged his response and said happily, I haven't seen him in 3 days, but it feels like Dabao is already getting better at speaking. Liu couldn't believe it. He's not. Dabao isn't. Emperor, please don't get too excited. The emperor held Dabao in his lap, and Mu Tianxiao's eyes widened in disbelief. Since when was the emperor so affectionate with his grandchildren? Dabao took out a calligraphy brush from his little robes. He'd insisted on taking it with him before they left. It was one of the gifts the emperor had sent a few days ago. Dabao, you're so smart. Do you want to learn how to write? Grandpa will teach you how to hold it, the emperor said, smiling and holding Dabao's chubby little hand. Liu thought it was too tragic to look at. Dabao had to hold the brush with both hands, and it was almost as large as he was. How was he going to write? But if the emperor thought he could, then so be it. He gave Sorry, this is just such a silly image. He gave Dabao some pointers with great enthusiasm. Dabao put on his serious face and listened carefully. When Dabao scribbled "Aw" again, the emperor's smile practically split his face in half. Liu was convinced that the emperor had fallen under Dabao's spell. It was inconvenient for the emperor to hold the other children at the same time, but he held Erbao and Sanbao's tender little hands and got covered with Sibao's happy drool, laughing heartily. The sixth prince stared at Dabao in the emperor's arms with a sinister gaze, and he couldn't help but say, Royal father, Suyun is also. If she's pregnant, then take good care of her, the emperor said mildly without looking up. He was still playing with Dabao. You don't have to come tell me yourself. I will send you an imperial physician to check on her pulse every day. Yep. That's what you get, bitch. That's what you get, bitch. For being a bitch. Bitch. You're such a bitch. Bitch. The emperor didn't bother hiding his dissatisfaction with the sixth prince. The sixth prince's consort being pregnant was a good thing, and he was very happy when he heard the news. But the sixth prince was announcing it too deliberately, and he'd even dragged his consort with him when he came. How could he make his newly pregnant wife kneel to greet the emperor and force her to run around everywhere to report the news? The sixth prince's actions could, at best, be interpreted as the ignorance of a new father, but at worst, he was using his child to gain favor and didn't actually care for the little life that was in his princess consort's belly. A bite! How dare! Bites you back. Bites you, bites and bonks. There you go. Bitch. Sorry. I hope you can sleep well. When you can. I have like one more paragraph to get through this chapter. Oh boy. I hate this guy. We're reading about this stupid prince that's trying to... Stupid guy. Okay. Coupled with the timing of when the sixth prince had entered the palace, how could the emperor not notice what his intention was? Dabao was the smartest. What was the problem with spoiling him a little more? The emperor coldly thought, why are you competing for my favor when your child isn't even born yet? Exactly. He said it. I hate that fucking guy. Okay, that's the third chapter, and I think that is also where we will end off for today. It's only been an hour and like 19 minutes, specifically 19 minutes and 9 seconds. But yeah, my jaw is getting tired from reading, from forming words. But thanks for being here. I am also very sleepy because of this chamomile tea. Chamomile tea. Glad I could stop in. Go rest. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Is it morning for you? I thought yes. What's going on? Whoa. Whoa. Did you hear that? I like pushed my head back and then it cracked at the back, but then it felt like it came out of my mouth, like the sound. That was weird. That was weird. I gotta go lie down. I gotta go lie down before I break something. Anyway, these chapters were so fun. I love reading about the babies. They're so cute, and I'm so glad they're fictional. I never get baby fever, but when I read this book, goddamn. EB, how long you been awake? I've been awake since about 9:30 this morning, and it's now 7:20 p.m. So yeah, but also I'm always tired. So like, what's new? But anyway, shall we find someone to raid? I think we have enough numbers to raid someone. Oh. Let's see. Oh my god, Taki is streaming for once. Taki is streaming when I'm ending for once. Baby fever, I can't. Shut the fuck up, this guy. 2 hours, I could only say good morning, no slept. Oh boy. Oh boy. Yeah. We all have those days. Anyway, I want you to go say hi to Taki for me because I haven't talked to this guy in a hot minute, and I'm sad about it. So go. Let's raid Taki. Let's raid Taki. I actually need to plug in my headphones real quick because they're in my speaker now. So if I want to like hear what he has to say, another cat boy. And go say hi to another cat boy. Well, he's like a quarter cat boy, so canonically quarter cat boy. I love that. Okay, we're gonna go raid. Thanks for being here. I'll see you later. And I actually have to wait 10 seconds for that to go, okay? Waiting 10 seconds. Waiting 10 seconds. Okay, thank you for being here. I'll see you next week. Bye-bye. Go raid, go raid, go raid. And end.